Shalom Aleichem. It's Tafshin Pei Daled Parshas Pekudei. So I'm actually going to give over what I when I was in LA. I spoke and I spoke. I can't remember when it was. Maybe it was in the evening on Shabbos evening. I'm going to give over. It's a general Torah about the concept of measurements. So I don't know if you guys were there or you heard, but it's going to be a chazara if you did. But if you didn't, it's a very important idea because measurements. With Parshas Pekudi, I could have given this Torah by Truma, by Tetzaveh, I suppose, by V'yakel, and we'll finish by Pekudei. Okay, the Inyan of measurements. So I just want to read you a little bit from the Gemara, a very famous Gemara that maybe will give an interesting understanding of. It's a Gemara in Tainus. It says like this. Excuse me. He comes the says mother. Tadvei Rabbi Yishmael. Ein bracha matsuya el b'davar she'ein ha'ayin sholetes boy. That a bracha is not chal, doesn't affect, and except for something that the eye is not sholate over. Okay, it's a famous Gemara. He says, Shne'emai, Savu Hashem itcha es bracha ba'asmach. Tanuban. Anichnas lamud es garanoi. So the guy comes into his storehouse to count his grain. Yeah, oimer yehi ratzon melefnecha Hashem Elokeinu shetishlach bracha b'ma'aseh yedenu. So he comes into his storehouse before he's counted, and he says the bracha. He gives a bracha Hashem. It should be lots of should give a bracha to my grain. His chil lamud. Now he's begun to count. He hasn't finished counting. Omer baruch hasholech bracha b'keri hazeh. He can also give a bracha that there should be it should be a lot of grain here. Modod, he counted. V'achakach biruch, and then he gave the bracha, Hoizeh tefillah shav. That is called a tefillah shav. Lefi she'ein bracha matsuya, there is no bracha found, lo b'davar shakul, not on something that is weighed, v'lo b'davar hamadud, and not on something that is measured, v'lo b'davar hamanui, and not on something that is counted. Ela b'davar hasamui min ha'ayin, except for on something that is concealed from the eye. Okay, so we've got three midregas. The guy walks into the storehouse, he hasn't started counting, and he says, Hashem, the grain should be plentiful. B'seidah gamor, gesundheit. He's begun counting, he hasn't finished counting, he says the same thing. B'seidah gamor, good idea, you're gonna be zoicha. He's finished counting, he gives the bracha, tefillah shav. Not only did he waste his words, it's an issa. You're not allowed to do that. So we'll get back to that, but that's a very important Gemara. If you think about that a little deeply, you'll hear what they're talking about. The inyan of counting or measuring is so heilig. Measurements are what bind ruchnius to gashmius, or what bind elakus to this world. Every mitzvah has a measurement. That's what the Gemara is basically doing, is working out the measurements for every mitzvah. That could be a measurement in mass, it could be a measurement in distance, it could be a measurement in time, it could be a measurement in whatever the measurement is. Without the shiur, the mitzvah can't be connected to this world. Everyone's with me? even the mitzvahs she'ein behen shiur, that just means they don't have a minimum shiur, but they have a shiur. The shiur is what binds the things, it binds stuff to this world. That's exactly what a shiur does. Okay, it's interesting because shiur is also Lashon shah from a gate. It's what allows things to come through and to get connected to this world. Now, the word for measurement is midah, moded. A midah, the midas, the esa midas, are what Hashem uses to interact with this world. That's exactly what Hashem uses to bind himself to this world. The esa spheres, which is from Russian sofer, which means to count also. Yeah, but we also call them the esa midas. That also means to count. That's how Hashem binds himself to this world, so to speak. That's the interface between the Rabbanu Shalom and this world. It's always to do with measurement. Okay, so the letters Mem Daled. This is basically what allows to transfer, so to speak, from the Rishusa Yochid to the Rishusa Rabbim. Okay, Rishusa Yochid meaning the Rabbanu Shalom, into the Rishusa Rabbim meaning the world in which we live. Okay, the world of multiplicity. It happens through number. It happens through measurement. So the word for measurement is based on these two letters, Be'ikah, which is Mem Daled. Okay, Mem. What's the kesher between Mem and Chibur? Anyone can think why it is that a Mem, what's the connection that a Mem has to connecting?
Well, it's because it's from something else. May something.
Very good. I never thought about that. Very good. But the Ikka, that's great. But the what I was thinking was it's 40, which is the Inyan of Yitzirus of Vlad. Before 40 days, yeah, the Vlad is the fetus is not formed. It forms at 40 days. That's when there's some kind of kiyum. There was also 40 days for Matan Torah. 40 is this day. 40 is the number 40 ser for the mikvah. It's this interface number. Okay. The letter Dalad is basically the word Deles, which means a door, which is also the Inyan of Shah, which is Shiur, which is the Inyan of moving from the Rishusa Yachid to the Rishusa Rabbim. So these two letters, Mem and Dalad, which is Lashon Moded, yeah, these are the mechanism, I suppose, that you could say that Hashem uses to connect the Rishusa Yachid to the Rishusa Rabbim, to connect Ruchnias to Gashmias, to connect Elikus to Olam Hazeh, however you want to speak about it. It goes to Tov Ra as well. That's why we don't count Yidden, because when something's Ruchni and we want to give it Kiyum in the Gashmi, then we count it. But when something's Gashmi, to give it a number it binds it down. It's already bound down because it's Gashmi. So why would you want to bind it down even more? That's the Inyan. We don't count Yidden. So Mem Dalad, it's interesting that the way we can speak about it. Mem Dalad is Lashon Moideh, yeah, from submission. When you're Moideh, that allows for a transferal. Okay, it's also the Midas, like we said. That's the Midas. It's also the Inyan of the base of Migdash. That's why it's Masechtas Midas. That the base of Migdash is Machaber, the Shemayim to the Oretz. So why do we call it Masechtas Midas? Because that's exactly what the Mem Daled is doing. That's what the Midas do. It binds the Shemayim to the Oretz. But it also actually goes backwards when the letters Daled and Mem, when we flip around Mem and Daled and we end up with Daled and Mem, it does the same thing. And there's a few really interesting points. Number one, dam. Yeah, blood. What's the Inyan of blood being Makashe Ruchnias to Gashmias? That's the whole Inyan of Dam. The whole Inyan of Dam is to bring oxygen to the rest of the goof. That's being Mechaber, the Ruchnias to the Gashmias. Without the Dam, that's the purpose, the primary purpose of Dam. But this is really what I want to also, by the way, the Beis Hamikdash is called Hadoim Raglav. Hadoim Raglav, the footstool. Doim, Lashon Dalad Mem, which is the Beis Hamikdash, which is the inyan again of Mechaber Shemaim La'aretz. But this is what I really want to concentrate on, is the inyan of Doimem, of Demia, of silence. Silence is the Ikka Midah of transferal from one to the other. We have three levels of listening. We've spoken about this before, but it's very important because now we're understanding the mechanics of it. Okay, the lowest level of listening that isn't listening bichlal, that most of us are over on all the time, is listening with the intent to respond. That isn't listening. That's just waiting to respond. Okay. Then there's the next level, which is the analytical listening, which means you're listening, but you're thinking. So you're analyzing, you're comparing, contrasting, preferring, liking, disliking. What you're really doing is the other person has begun to exist, but really your experiences of yourself. Really, you're experiencing your own thoughts. A lot of people think that this is true listening, when you're listening with and you're trying to figure out as well, but that's not true listening. It's definitely a madrega above waiting to speak, but true listening is silence. True listening is absolute silence. When you're empty and you're just being makabel, you'll think afterwards. Okay, you'll analyze later. But the process of receiving the information from the other is the process of inner silence. And that is doime. That is doime. That's being silent. That's the inyan of the rock. Yeah, that's why it's called doimem. They're just silent. They just sit there. There's no movement. There's no growth. There's no nothing. There's no reproduction. There's just silence. And that's the inyan of being makabel. That's the inyan of being makabel from the other. So that's the inyan of the mem dalad and the dalad mem being the interface between two things. So we've got midas, we've got moide, we've got mida, we've got dam, we've got doimem. It's always these two letters that are allowing the transfer from lamala lamata, from the rishus yachid to rishus rabin. So just to finish off, you realize that this Gemara that we just read is actually the phenomena that we know in this generation of quantum physics. Mamash Chazal were miscovenant. They gave the most perfect definition of quantum physics we could have. Quantum physics, basically, not that I understand much of it, but one of the hanachas of it, one of the foundations of it is that it's the human nefesh, it's human consciousness that determines reality to a large degree. And that is based on measurement. When the human being measures quantum particles, whatever, it stops them from being potential to being something actual. So there's that famous thing with the split test. If the particles are waves, if they're particles or waves, whatever it is, before a consciousness is measuring and actually observing, which is really what we're doing when we're observing, we're measuring. That's the level, by the way, of the middle level of listening, is that we're actually measuring. That's really what science and art does. See, science is measuring with numbers. Art is measuring without numbers. If you meet an artist, or even like someone like a chef, which is the level of art, what they're actually doing is they're measuring, but they're not using any numbers. So a painter or a photographer, whatever it is looking at a picture and he's gauging. You would use the word gauging more than measuring, but it really is, that's measuring. He's gauging the balance, he's gauging the energies, he's etc. That's called measuring. That is measuring. So the arts is measuring without numbers, and the sciences is measuring with numbers. When somebody's speaking and you're analyzing, that's the reason why they don't feel that they're being heard. Because what they're saying, you're binding it down and kind of, so to speak, sealing it, stopping it, taking it from potential to actual, and therefore they feel stifled. Whereas when you're silent, you allow that transfer to take place and it goes into you, and therefore they feel heard. They feel that they were able to express themselves, and they feel they so to speak relax in that sense. They feel that they've expressed themselves. So our measuring actually binds stuff down. And that's exactly what the Gemara says. So when you come into the storehouse and you haven't measured the grain, then you can daven to Hashem that there should be a lot of grain there. When you've begun to measure, meaning there's still a chelik that hasn't been measured, you can still daven to the Ribono Shel Olam that there should be a bracha there. But once you've measured, now it's been sealed, signed and sealed, finished. Now that's tefillah shav. You've, so to speak, taken it out of the realm of potential and you've bound it down into this world of actual. That's what measuring does. So we have to be, the real takeaway here, there's a couple of takeaways. Number one, but we know this already, is the inyan of silence. Okay, we never found anything more choshev to the goof than shtika, as the Mishnah says. Silence is mamash golden. So the second thing is that measuring binds stuff down. So when we don't want something to be bound down, yeah, we don't measure it. We don't measure how many children we have. We don't count Yidden. We don't measure our money. The only reason why we should be taking a serious account of our money is to be giving tzedakah. That's binding. That's again giving a share for the mitzvah. That's binding from the higher worlds to the lower worlds. But the things of this world, we don't want to give a share to. The things of Shemayim, we are chayav to give a share to, because the whole point of this world is bringing the Ribono Shel Olam down into this world, and that takes place through the midah of medida, through midas, through measuring is how we bring things down into this world. Okay, that was it. We should be zoicha bezrat Hashem.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, good Shabbos.
What was the Beis Hamikdash called? You said you had it as a name in the Beis Hamikdash.
No, it's Masechta.
Elisa's gonna be towards the left.
It's in Masechta. All the measure. The Beis Hamikdash is discussed in Masechta Midas. So that's the kesher, but it is all midas. The whole thing of the Beis Hamikdash and the Mishkan, it's all about midas. It's all about midas, and that's the inyan of a dir b'tachtonim, binding the Ribono Shel Olam into this world. That's exactly how we do it, through midas, through measuring. Okay.
Do you think in some negative way there's a sense that the dome of the rock is Dalit Mem, like Dom, the dome of the rock?
Hashem also made English, 100%. Yeah. Very good. Shkoyach. That's very good. Okay. Shabbos.